So week 2 of the USFL actually brought us some good football for the most part. There were big plays, high scoring games, big hits, and pick sixes. The league made several adjustments, and broadcasts that were already pretty good showed definite improvement in week 2. Also, a big change by the USFL led to vast improvement in one of the league's worst aspects of week 1. But with that said, they still weren't able to fix everything in one fell swoop. The USFL crowds, or lack thereof, continued to turn people off watching on TV, as some people really crave that social proofing before they can really get into something. And while I don't personally feel the same way, I do understand where they're coming from, and that's just how things work. With that said, the TV viewership numbers are in, and since the small crowd is clearly a product of all the games being held in the same location, it's really the TV ratings that are gonna tell the story of this league. So will the USFL last, or will it go the way of pretty much every other spring league that came before it? I have no idea, but as long as y'all are interested, I'll be right here covering it every step of the way. Now on the field, there were 2 really good games this week, 1 bad game, and a blowout. I'll do a quick breakdown of each game as well as go through news and notes pertaining to the USFL as a whole. But other than that, this is your week number 2 USFL recap, and y'all know what time it is, bros. Cue the Wayne.
Yeah, you'll never no quitter, 'cause I'ma go get it.
Alright, so real quick before we jump in, it's time for today's video sponsor, Factor. So Factor is a first-time sponsor on the channel, and in a nutshell, it's a meal delivery service that helps you to reach your specific nutrition goals. And they deliver fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals straight to your door, using only ingredients with integrity so that you can feel your best for the full day. That way you don't get hit with the itis and be completely useless after lunch. We all been there. So I done used multiple meal delivery services before, and one thing that Factor Meals does that separates them from a lot of other services, they actually update the menus every single week. And like I said, I've used some other services and they'll start out good, but you know, you get tired of the same food pretty damn quick. And not only are they modifying the menus frequently, but they include over 27 meals and 33 add-on options. You know, sometimes when you're trying to watch what you eat, variety go out the window. So I like the fact that that's not the case here. Now they offer keto, smart calorie, chef's choice, and vegan options. So again, depending on your specific nutrition goals, they pretty much got something for everybody. Now I've been trying these out for the last week or so, and to be real, I'm actually pretty impressed. Like I said, I've tried meal delivery services before, so I was kind of shocked by how fresh the food was, and for me, it tasted really damn good. The meat was way more tender than I expected, and the size, man, the size was actually on point. So I'm a bigger dude, about 6'3", and I fluctuate anywhere between 225 to 240 pounds, just depending on how good a shape I'm in at any given moment. I just turned 34 years old, and I don't have the most active of jobs, so for me at times, managing my weight can be tough. I mean, I make it work, you know what I'm saying, but it's still a challenge. Anyway, I've learned a few things over the years about how to stay closer to my 225 and further away from my 240. The 2 most important things for me, the food gotta be enjoyable and it gotta be stupid easy / convenient. If it's too damn hard, I gotta jump through too many hoops, it ain't gonna last, bro. So that's something I've really been enjoying with Factor Meals. It hit both of those 2 very important marks. It's enjoyable and it's easy. You literally just get it, put it in the refrigerator till you're ready to eat it, then either put it in the microwave for 2-3 minutes or put it in the oven for 5-6. After that, it's bon appetit. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, head to go.factor75.com /FlemLo120. Again, that's go.factor75.com /FlemLo120. Or just click the link in the description and use code FlemLo120, and that's gonna give you $120 off. Yo, shout out to Factor once again for sponsoring the video. Without further ado, let's get back to it. So like we've talked about constantly, all the USFL games are being held in the same location in Birmingham, Alabama. And unfortunately for the league, fans are really only showing up for Birmingham Stallion games, which isn't super surprising. That was exactly the same this week, as the Birmingham versus Houston game was the only game with at least a decent crowd. The rest of the games, unfortunately, were pretty damn empty. And this isn't something that I would expect to change for at least the duration of this first season. But if the league can somehow survive into next year, the belief is that the USFL will move these teams to their respective cities, which would help tremendously with the crowd size. I can't say for sure, but I feel like if the New Orleans Breakers was in New Orleans for $10 a pop and the fact that kids get in free, I really think they could drum up some decent crowds. By comparison, the XFL was doing a pretty good job at it, as fan attendance was not only respectable, but for some teams like St. Louis, bro, they was getting nearly 30,000 people to come out and watch spring football. Bro, real talk, I believe that more fans probably showed up for that very first St. Louis Battlehawks game than the total number of fans that have shown up for USFL games. I'm talking about combined. So while I'm sure they were able to save money reserving one stadium as opposed to reserving 8 stadiums, can you imagine if the USFL and XFL pooled their resources and we got this type of fan engagement in packed stadiums along with all the technology and the TV push and investment? It would be insane. With that said, it doesn't mean that either the USFL or the XFL, who's returning next year, can't get to that point. But it's going to be a long and tumultuous road with a whole bunch of potholes and traps along the way. And so far to this point, no spring league vehicle, if you will, has made the trip down this road successfully. So if this league doesn't work out, the decision to hold everything in Birmingham, probably because it was the cheapest, might end up being the primary reason, or at least the reason that everybody points to as to why this thing doesn't work. But like I said, man, while the crowds or lack thereof does definitely look bad on TV, those TV numbers themselves is actually what we should be monitoring. That's what's gonna decide whether this league lives or dies. In week 1, the USFL's very first game was simulcast, and they were able to get a total of around 3 million viewers. But after that first game, many of the other games didn't do as well, with several of them dropping below the 1 million viewer mark. And in case you're unaware, most people believe that a 1 million viewer per game average is about where the league would want to come in to give them the best chance to get that second season. Now, Fox has already said they're behind this league for 3 years, $150 million invested, so if they hold true to that and the USFL is able to stick around for 3 years no matter what, that would definitely give them time to get their legs under them. But we've seen in these other leagues, man, there's money that goes out up front, and if it's not coming back and the league starts to look less and less profitable, a lot of times these cats pull their money out. So we'll see how it goes. So here we go. How did the USFL do this week as far as viewership? I don't know this dude, but I was tagged in a post that was responding to him, but I actually thought his original post was pretty good. It provides both the numbers and some context, so I decided to just use these. Shout out to Tuju Master on Twitter. So the Saturday game on Fox had a little over 1 million viewers. All right, that's solid. While the Sunday game on NBC had 816,000 viewers. Still hovering around that 1 million number. Okay, not too bad. But the Saturday night game on FS1 only had 400,000, and the Friday game, which we'll talk about in a second, had the least amount of viewers with 363K. Now, like I said, the debut game hit 3 million on the simulcast, but again, that was a simulcast. So if you took just the Fox numbers or just the NBC numbers from that first game, you're talking somewhere around 1.5 million apiece. So while that Saturday game is down from the first week, it's not down quite as much as you might think. Same thing with the Sunday game, 816, not really too bad. Even the Friday game, which was the lowest of this week, still did better than the Monday night game from last week. So while these numbers aren't like amazing or nothing like that, they're also not terrible, and they don't spell immediate doom, at least for the USFL, which is a good thing. Now, dude goes on in the thread and he says, if you look at the Fox game compared to, say, MLB Sunday night on ESPN, you see a good matchup there. MLB got 1.1 million, USFL got 1.056. The two USFL broadcast games beat the NHL on ABC and the Premier League. The NBA playoffs dominated sports ratings for the week, with ABC commanding 5.8 million viewers on Sunday. NASCAR had 4.6, so the USFL was competing against some pretty stiff competition. For that Saturday afternoon game, USFL easily beat that time slot against the other broadcast networks, and on Sunday, NBC came in 4th against NBA playoffs, NASCAR, and the PGA. Now, the Markcast posted the numbers as well, and the way he posted is a little bit easier on the eyes, so just once again, you can see Saturday continues to be the USFL's best day. Fox continues to be the station where the do the best, with NBC coming in a strong second. The USA games have struggled the most, but this is what we're looking like up to this point. Now, for comparison's sake, the most recent spring league to fail was the most recent version of the XFL. So the XFL debuted with 3.3 million. Then their average viewership in week 2 was 2.1 mil, week 3 1.6, week 4 1.3. As you can see, the XFL was actually drawing a bigger crowd, not only at the games but also on TV. So the USFL hasn't quite been as successful early on as the XFL was. And considering the fact that the XFL didn't finish their season, some people may feel that's pretty alarming. But once again, the USFL has a couple of things going for it that the XFL didn't. A bigger financial backing that comes from the network that is being broadcast on. The USFL happens to be coming out of the pandemic, whereas the XFL got hit with it in the middle of their season. Overall, I think these numbers are pretty solid, and we'll continue to monitor how consistent they can become over the coming weeks. Alright bro, so let's talk about what's happening on the field. So Friday night's game kind of went under the radar, even by the USFL's own standards. I was told by multiple people who've been keeping up with the league that they didn't even know there was a game on Friday. Even Highlight Heaven, who consistently posts clips of pretty much every league, tweeted about playing catch up after not being aware that there was a game being played on Friday. So a little bit more consistency on when the games are played would be helpful. And it's not that they haven't been marketing, like I've been seeing some marketing, but they might want to get that online presence up just a little bit higher, because I'm seeing every single day on Twitter people who are willing to give the league a shot but just had no idea that it existed. So they still got to keep increasing that reach, you know. Now, if people were gonna miss a game, Friday wasn't a bad one to miss. I honestly thought we'd be in for a fun one between the Michigan Panthers and the New Jersey Generals, but it ended up being a low-scoring affair. At halftime, the score was 10-6, which wasn't too bad, but then neither team scored a single point for the entire second half. Now, the New Jersey Generals did come away with the victory, but I found them kind of hard to watch, and for me, it's just because I absolutely detest two quarterback systems. If y'all been following me since the NCAA days, you know I do not like two quarterback systems. I never have. I don't think I ever will. And I don't mean a situation where I got a surefire starting quarterback and then I got another guy who's got like a little package of plays that he comes in. That's fine. We talking about constant quarterback switching, ensuring that neither QB ever gets into any kind of a rhythm. Luis Perez was good in week 1. He even threw the USFL's very first touchdown pass on the opening drive, but DeAndre Johnson was good in that first game as well. Now this week, DeAndre Johnson, former Last Chance U QB, was the one who was moving the offense more efficiently. When he was out there, the Generals offense had much more of a rhythm to it. His speed and explosiveness opens up running lanes for the backs on the read option, and his playmaking is extremely fun to watch. But in one drive, as he got the team all the way down into the red zone, the coach decided this was the perfect time to switch QBs. Then a play action pass that had been set up by DeAndre that entire drive ends up failing as Perez comes in off the bench and misses a wide open touchdown. I'm not saying this to bag on Perez. I really don't put it on him at all. I've always believed that it pulls a quarterback out of their rhythm when you're taking them on and off the field. And I just don't understand why the coach would make this change, as if DeAndre hasn't proven in week 1 that he can easily make this play. What is the point of taking him out here? Anyway, the Generals end up settling for a field goal on that drive. Perez comes in the next drive and ends up throwing an interception. Then after that, DeAndre comes back in later on and leads the team on their only touchdown drive of the game. I almost feel like the USFL should push to get DeAndre to another team. And it's only been 2 weeks, so maybe that's a bit dramatic, but I don't think Perez is a bad USFL quarterback. He actually went off in week 1. But I'm really curious to see what DeAndre Johnson can do if given a full opportunity out on the field. He's one of the most explosive QBs in this league, and he may be one of the best QBs in this league, but I don't know because it's impossible to tell when he's throwing 6 passes in a game. That's just my thoughts on it. I kind of feel that the league is missing out. Now, Perez actually has a great story story as well. And like I said, I believe he's a solid quarterback as well, which is why I'm not calling for, hey, just bench Perez and start DeAndre. If they feel like Perez is the better quarterback, that's cool. But personally, I would just like to see DeAndre Johnson win an opportunity to actually run a team and just see how that goes, at least for one game. Now on the other squad, the Panthers, Shea Patterson was under duress for most of the game. Dude made a lot of those almost great plays where he'd buy time with his feet, break tackles, but either nobody would get open or he would miss the throw. Now admittedly, a lot of these throws are really tough, but they're definitely not impossible. That Shea Patterson, Lance Lenoir connection I talked about last week was basically non-existent in this one, as Lenoir had 9 targets but only 4 catches for 23 yards. Now I do want to point out the fact that Shea Patterson did actually complete a few of these. And I understand his offensive line isn't great, but he seems to be one of those quarterbacks who's pretty decent when he gets outside the pocket. And because of that, when it's time to ad-lib, he tends to look pretty good. And you think to yourself, man, if he just had time in the pocket, he'd really be carving dudes up. But when I watch the games, and there's only been 2, so of course my opinion on this can change, he's kind of like a lot of us on the video games. He's rolling out regardless. He's got happy feet in the pocket, and he's not doing a great job of reading the defense. Then he ends up running around for an hour, hoping somebody gets wide open because he's unable to properly diagnose where he should go with the ball before the play actually breaks down. But like I said, to his credit, man, he did make some great plays at the end of this one, and almost, like, he came so close to driving his team all the way down after being a 4th and 20, basically in his own end zone. He almost took them dudes down and won this game, but they don't get the call at the end. It was a little bit too little too late. Had all game to put a drive like this together, and Michigan comes up short. Now there were some highlight moments in this game, but overall, no true standout performances. Now in game 2, we had some real firepower as each starting quarterback in this game had more passing touchdowns individually than all the QBs from the first game had combined. Okay, now we got something to talk about. Now cornerback Jalen McClain-Sapp had a hell of a game, bro. Dude started out with a pass deflection and then this phenomenal interception, bro. Look at this. Comes down from the top like he's gonna swat this down. But he actually controls the ball, all while creating enough momentum to scoop it and press it against his body for the one-handed interception. This was a crazy play, man. Hell of a pick. A few drives later, Brandon Mack gets smacked by Ladarius Wiley, but he ends up holding on to it. They do hit in this league, bro, and this ain't a penalty. It was clean. So a clean hit, but a better catch to set up the field goal. Then Stars quarterback Brian Scott responds. He almost gets this one dude killed, but he survives, and then look at Scott making dudes miss, keeping his eyes up the field and going right back to Overton for the touchdown. This was a nice ass drive. Now Love comes right back out and throws a pick. Then the Stars go straight down the field and score once again. So at this point, I'm thinking the Pittsburgh Maulers, who was the only team to not score a touchdown in week 1, they about to get blown out. Here we go again. But y'all remember that fire pick I just showed you by Jalen McClain-Sapp? Well, dude wasn't done as he recovers a fumble and doesn't rely on the offense this time. My man said, bro, I'ma just put it in the end zone myself. Bro, I cannot overstate how important this play was to the Maulers season as a whole. I'm dead serious too. Bro, if Philly goes down and scores here, this game is over. And at this point that you're seeing on your screen right now, the Maulers had not scored a touchdown all season. The coach has been called out by everybody. And if Philly scores right here, they take all the momentum and the Maulers would once again get blown out. This man makes a huge play, which gives his team the life and momentum that they needed to get back in it. Now in week 1 following Pizzagate, Kirby Wilson thought he had Derrick Henry in the backfield. This man called 30 plus run plays and only 16 pass plays in week 1. But he doesn't have Derrick Henry, and he just cut who was probably his best running back over Food, so the Maulers ended up averaging 2.1 yards per carry in week 1. Now this week started out pretty much the same, but after falling down 14-3, Kirby actually made the necessary adjustment and started to air the ball out much more, not just on the obvious passing downs. Kirby let Love cook, and next thing you know, we had ourselves a game as the Maulers scored their first offensive touchdown of the season. So this was when things really got fun. Scott hits North Carolina Tar Heel alum Bug Howard on a corner route, and then 2 plays later, Philly answers with a touchdown of their own. But the Maulers come back again with a beautiful drive, capped off by a 37-yard touchdown pass from Love to Bailey Gaither. And Bailey Gaither had a big game, man. More on him in a second. So at this point, we was locked in a battle as Brian Scott brought Philly right back. I mean, look at this, man. He really was feeling it, bro. They get the touchdown, then they go for a 3-point conversion, and running back Terry, who made timely plays all game, gets past his defender and dives in to give Philly a 7-point lead. But would it be enough to actually win the game? The Maulers get it back, and on one desperate attempt on 4th down, y'all gotta check this play out.
Here we go, 4th and 10. Love stepping up, going deep, and it's caught by Gaither.
But then with 45 seconds left, Love predetermines where he's gonna go with the ball. It gets tipped up and picked off, and boom, that's game. Philly goes to 1-1, and the Maulers fall to 0-2. So there was a lot made about the Pittsburgh Maulers last week. I came on here and said they looked like the worst team in the league, which they absolutely did after week 1. But this week, despite the loss, I think they really found where they can have success. 39 pass attempts might be a little bit too much, but they were clearly a better offense when they became less predictable and stopped trying to force the team to be a power running juggernaut when that's just not how they built. By throwing the ball more and balancing out the offense, they actually had a chance to win this game, unlike week 1 when they got drugged. The defense could no longer just load up on early downs, and they went from averaging 2.7 yards per carry to averaging 4.4, with both of their running backs having solid days. Standout players for the Maulers was Bailey Gaither and McLean Sapp. We talked about the big play from McLean Sapp, but you should also know a little bit about the dude. So he's a 23-year-old corner who played his college ball at Marshall from 2016 to 2020. He was then signed as an undrafted free agent by the Chiefs, and now he finds himself in the USFL, and at 23 years old, he's actually one of the younger players in this league. He only stands 5'10", but he does have a 41-inch vertical, and he's got solid speed as he recorded a 4.45. And to be completely honest, I wouldn't be shocked if this dude is able to work himself kind of back to the bottom of an NFL roster, especially if he can keep making plays like this. Now, Bailey Gaither is a little bit older at 25. He played his college ball at San Jose State and signed with the Packers in 2021. When he left San Jose State, he was second in school history in receiving touchdowns, but after only a few months fighting for a Packers roster spot, he shocked everybody when he up and decided to retire from football. Well, it seems like he's had a change of heart, and he's back in the USFL. And don't look now, but he's currently the leading receiver in this league, and it should be fun to see how things play out for him. And Bailey's not even the only league leader that played in this game, as Philly's quarterback Brian Scott also lit it up. Dude threw for 272 yards with 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and only 1 interception, all while completing 72% of his passes and leading his team to the win. The 26-year-old went to a private college in California before playing pro in the CFL. But when the pandemic hit, he opted out of his CFL contract and played in the developmental spring league, where he beat out former LSU quarterback Zach Mettenberger for the starting job. He then proceeded to lead the team to an undefeated record, won the championship, and was named Spring League MVP, an honor that he earned not once but twice. That earned him a tryout with the Colts last year, but ultimately he too ends up in the USFL and is currently leading the league in pass yards and pass touchdowns after 2 weeks. Now, the second Saturday game was also a good one. 2 teams who won in week 1 set to face off, Birmingham versus Houston. So the game opens up with a pick 6, right? Then Houston turns around and answers with their own. And any pick 6 is impressive, but this one by Likely from Houston is crazy, bro. From the catch to the return to the dive in the end zone, like a great play by the former Maryland Terrapin. This was impressive. Now, I really like this play call here as Thorson hits Isaiah Zuber for the touchdown. They caught the defense in a cover 2 and ran a nice little corner post route. It spreads that safety out and opens up the middle of the field even more for an easy touchdown. Perfect play call against that coverage by Kevin Sumlin and his coaching staff. But then Jamar Smith, who's having a great start to the season, answers back when he hit Osiris Mitchell for the touchdown. Now a few drives later, Smith was back at it, hitting this deep post for a 64-yard tutty. It was caught by Marlon Williams out of UCF, and Bucs Nation actually did a whole write-up on this man just last year, saying how he would be a great day 3 pickup for the Bucs, and they seem to have high hopes for him. But at only 22 years old, here he is catching touchdown passes in the USFL. Now listen, man, these games are exciting at times, bro. Like, look at this play by Thorson. He didn't have a great game, but he did make a few standout plays, and this one breaking out of a sack and then hitting the receiver streaking down the sideline with a perfect pass for the touchdown. This is nice, bro. But either way, Birmingham comes out on top and they move to 2-0. So the Birmingham Stallions are pretty damn good, man. Now it also helps that they get home field advantage every game for the entire season. Now the crowd's probably not actually big enough to affect the game, but you know, still. But I really like their team, as Jamar Smith is one of the better QBs in the league so far, and they have both a good running back room and a good receiving core. Bro, Victor Bolden Jr. was their 3rd receiver in this one, but he's actually leading the league in all-purpose yards with 370 after just 2 games. I mean, he's averaging 185 yards per game. Now he's doing most of that damage in a return game, but he also contributes as a receiver, and he's not even their main weapon. So I really like what I've seen from Birmingham so far, and they are one of only 2 undefeated teams. Who is the other undefeated team? Well, it's the New Orleans Breakers. Now last week when Tampa Bay beat the Pittsburgh Maulers, I said that I thought Tampa was even better than what they showed. I thought they'd played down to the competition, but this week has shown me that, yeah, I was tripping. I was wrong. New Orleans dominated Tampa Bay in this game, bro. I'm talking about they blew these boys out 34-3. And it's crazy because, again, last week, the only blowout of the week was done by Tampa when they beat Pittsburgh 17-3. Tampa was just bad in this one, so let's just talk about New Orleans. So Kyle Sloter is only slightly behind Brian Scott in passing yards for the season. He's currently number 2, but could easily finish number 1. I really like the swag and the edge that dude plays with. He even hurt his groin in this one, but played through it and continued to play well. Another thing that separates Sloter from some of the other QBs so far is the way that he plays the position. He processes things quick and gets the ball out of his hands. You hardly ever see him back there looking confused. He's able to quickly make his reads and get the ball out. Now that does not mean that dude ain't taking shots downfield, because he is. He's just not waiting for a guy to get a foot of separation before throwing the ball. He's reading the matchups and making quick decisions, which is part of the reason why he hasn't taken a single sack through 2 whole games. Compare that to league-leading passer Byron Scott, who holds onto the ball much longer. He's taken 10 sacks already. Now, obviously, the offensive line play a big role in this. There's no question. But a quarterback can definitely help his line by getting rid of the damn ball. Now, the story of this game was Jonathan Adams, my bad. After only having 1 catch in week 1, dude caught 5 passes for 92 yards in this one. And I want y'all to look at some of these grabs, the body control, the wide receiver awareness, bro. I hate seeing a receiver not reach back to get those 2 feet in, and I have seen it through 2 weeks of this league. I've already seen it too many times. But this right here, this is beautiful. And then of course this pass along the sideline, just making a crazy play, man. This is fire. This is probably gonna be on the thumbnail. I mean, a beautiful contested catch, huge play. I gotta give dude all the love. Now Adams played his college ball at Arkansas State, and he actually had some great seasons as a junior and a senior. But after getting picked up by the Detroit Lions as an undrafted free agent, a suspension led to him being cut, and y'all know the rest. Here he is in the USFL. Now, it remains to be seen if this is like a one-time thing, or if he'll be able to duplicate this and continue to make big plays. Because if he does, the USFL could just have a star on their hands. So here are the standings at the end of 2 weeks. The New Orleans Breakers and the Birmingham Stallions have yet to lose, but that's soon going to change because they're scheduled to play this week coming up. Now, I think the timing is terrible because this is the weekend of the draft. And of course, the USFL could not have planned this. They didn't know how this was going to stack up. But I really think that you could really promote this game if it wasn't the same weekend as the draft, you know? So what can I say? Tough break. Maybe they should move it to Monday. Now the Michigan Panthers and the Pittsburgh Maulers have yet to win a game, and then everybody else is sitting at 1-1. Now I don't want to hold y'all for too much longer. We're gonna go ahead and end the video, but before we do, I have to talk about the improved kicking. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers in front of me from week 1, but just know the kicking was terrible. The USFL decided to remove the chip technology from the ball that the specialists use, and this week the kicking numbers look really solid. As a whole, the league went 10 of 13 on field goals and 11 of 14 on extra points, and this even included a 48-yarder. One last thing before we end it, I just wanted to point out something that I think is pretty cool, man. The players of the week get custom Air Force Ones with their team and their name on it. I think that is dope. Something that's not overly expensive, but it is thoughtful and it's cool, you know? But let me know what y'all think about it in the comments. Alright man, that's all we got for the week 2 recap. If you missed the week 1 recap and you want to catch all the way up on the league, man, you can go back and watch it. It's popping up on the screen right here. But other than that, I'll catch y'all boys in the next one. Peace.